Welcome to RISD Open House for Industrial Design. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to, forgot one thing. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. We also have the chat, but it's preferable to put them in the Q&A. We can answer questions as we go along, and I think that's the main thing. Yeah, so I'm going to turn it over to Paolo Cardini. He is the graduate program director.
Hello, everyone. Very weird not seeing your face and just talking to the void here. So welcome. I will give you a few words about the program at large, but let's keep a good amount of time for answering your questions, curiosities, and everything. Karim and Eric are here with me. They are current grad students, so they are both in their thesis here, so struggling with thesis. And you can ask questions to them as well, and how they have navigated the program and RISD itself. So let me share a few slides here. So really going fast and try to do just a general overview. First thing first, remember that you are eventually interested or applying to an industrial design program within an art school. So that makes a giant difference. So, and I'm speaking because I've studied in a Polytechnic. I studied at Polytechnic of Milan, but at the same time I studied at the Glasgow School of Art. So, and now I'm teaching at RISD, but I taught also in technical universities. And while the discipline is the same, the filter is extremely different. So you have to consider that, in a sense that if you are thinking to come here and find a very scientific, pragmatic way of dealing with design, we may not be the right choice for you. If you are more interested in the experimental aspect of design, the reflection around the discipline in itself, and the critique of what is in front of you, that's the right place. So that doesn't mean that if you want to become more a design engineer type, you will not find help and people who can help you achieving that. But in general, let's say the ethos of an art school is totally different from the one of a traditional technical school. So just remember that. So there is a certain amount of weirdness that is part of what we're doing, and is there. We are proud of that, and is what we think will make everyone going through the program unique in their own interest and in the tools that they will collect along the journey. So this is an image on how some students last year packed their TV to be brought into the grad show. So there is a certain level of artistic expression even in this packaging that is maybe functional, maybe not, but definitely attractive, or at least attractive to the point that I felt take a photo of it, because it was very nice. I think was absolutely presentable as it is for the grad show. So in a nutshell, what the program is about, I will go through the 2 years of the main cycle. Then obviously we have a 2.5-year program as well that is adding 1 semester, 2 terms, winter session and spring, to prepare people without design background with the vocabulary and the processes that we are used to within the design field. But here, let's have a look and focus on the 2 years. So the first year, when you will get in, you will have Grad Studio 1 and Grad Studio 2. Grad studios are the places where the majority of the self-driven work is happening, are places in which you will be asked to work on topics that are your own interest, and they are part of your own agenda. So no one will tell you what to work on. but people will ask you what is interesting to you. Where do you see a critical aspect that you want to dig deep into? And those are really the moments in which you are growing your own personal creative voice. The studios are extremely important. They are prerequisites for everything that happens next. So if you're now passing grad studio one, you're out. And if you come back after 1 year and you do again grad studio one, but then you don't pass grad studio two, you have to repeat the year. So are very important moments in which we really care about to see the growth of people, because usually grad studios are loosely structured, and it's really about you and the way you want to approach a single project that is important. In the first year, you have also intro to communication and graduate orientation. Intro to communication is again giving you the opportunity to set solid foundations on how you communicate your idea, visual language, narratives, and so far so on. Those informations are very useful later on for your thesis, but also in general in a way to hold a very effective communication. Grad shop orientation is a speed up process in a way to access shops. RISD is still an highly making hands-on based curriculum. So our pedagogy is strongly focused on making, on creating tangible outcomes. So you will surprise how little 3D models we are asking to our students. So we want to see things happening in real life. We usually don't want digital visualizations. It's the only way we can assess really if the students did a correct the user experience investigation, or they exactly know what they're talking about when they're proposing specific solutions. And then grad student, and then there are a bunch of electives. So you can see the first year you have 5 electives that you can take, and this is where really the unicity of your profile is taking shape. So you can take classes all across campus in all the departments, and with a lot of navigating the RISD maze, in a sense that there is a lot of things that you need to figure out passing from one department to the other, being sure to get into classes that you want. So it's not always so smooth, but the offer is huge. So and most of all will give you the opportunity to really become something that is really unique to your own potential and predisposition. The first year is also characterized by a giant difference between the Grad Studio 1 and Grad Studio 2. Grad Studio 1 is more critical thinking, conceptual outcomes, open-ended research, and what we define sort of problem finding, not problem solving in the traditional way we usually refer to design or industrial design. So a lot of questions, a lot of discussions, a lot of thinking, mostly built to try to understand what is worth to be designed and what is not. So I always say we don't need more shit in this planet, and we are in the industrial design department. So how can we deal with that? So the best thing we can do is try to analyze deeply which kind of problems are there, and sometimes they don't even require ourselves to make that solution. Someone else will take care of that. And Grad Studio 2, vice versa, is more back to the tangible outcomes. So closer to the reality, more iterative process. So while in Grad Studio 1, you will explore deeply different topics and different research inquiries. Grad Studio 2 is usually one project that goes across the semester through an iterative process. Remember that in these spaces, you decide what you want to do. You will have eventually macro structures that will help you framing your design goals, but in reality, is required that you have that proactive role in deciding what you want to work on. And obviously with the faculty will help you achieve your goals. The year 2, let's say in a nutshell, is thesis 1 and thesis 2. Karim and Eric can tell you more about that. They are midway. almost midway. And again, there is thesis one is a lot of exploration around the topic of choice, a lot of research, and hopefully the first attempt of the first iteration of what it is, the thesis project at the end of the fall semester. While in the second semester, there is the preparation for the grad show and also the preparation for your life after RISD. So if the first year, I should like to say, should be more explorative. So you should really bring yourself in non-comfort zones. You should acquire more knowledge, new tools. The second year is the moment in which you are bringing together the old knowledge and the new knowledge towards your thesis goals and also towards your job opportunities. First year, more open. Second year, more strategic. As you can see, there are elective classes as well to be taken in the second year to empower that variety of tools that you think are ideal to set up your professional profile. Professional profile that, as I always say, you may not be able to find an exact definition of your job on LinkedIn after the master. And we love that in a sense that I will allow our students find their way. And sometimes the way is so unexpected that is pretty interesting. And we do that trying to avoid to box students in a specific pre-built persona that the market want. So my invitation is always don't please the market. Don't try to do that or you will be not interesting at all. So try to be unique, try to be experimental to the point that you are proposing something that is absolutely outside the market standards, but is so original and so unique that people will notice you in the giant ocean of applicants that is out there. So our goal is definitely that. Um, um, who's a RISD MIT graduate? And there is a little list here. So they have a wide array of backgrounds. They are all different, unique, creative individuals. They are critical thinker. They question the status quo. They craft their own methodologies and creative strategies. So we try not to force methodologies on people because we believe that the grad level, really students should build up their own voice and their own way to do things. Obviously knowing what is out there, but also trying to explore different paths. They can respond to unpredictable job markets. In that case, I see that our students are very good at that, being flexible and try to understand how they can fit their skills in a place, again, that is not defined by LinkedIn posts. They can adapt to unforeseen technosocial challenges. They are expert generalists. They are team players, but with well-defined personal views. They care for sustainability in the broadest possible sense. So we care about people that they have critical thinking and they understand ethics in relation to design, the planet, and everything else. What job are we preparing our students for? I have no idea, in a sense that there is not just one. And that's the value, and I think of what we are doing. If we could focus too much on channeling all our students in one um, professional pathway is extremely risky. They will not hold that flexibility that we want to adapt to a marketplace that may change. And also that means that we are not really working on each single student's potential. So the jobs that will open to you will be really about your interest. And we have noticed that people are very good at that. Some examples here of recently graduated students, just they're not successful stories. They're just here to show the variety of things. Social innovator at the New York mayor office, UX UI designers, educator, teachers, researcher, MIT, and then journalist at National Geographic, user and experience researcher, color material and finishing designer at Nike, strategist, entrepreneur, game designer, curator, product designer, design consultant, design consultancy, design director at Frog. So all of this are what our students can aspire to. And this is possible only through an educational path that is very open and allow you to explore multiple things. Okay, that's it. Questions for me or for Karim and Eric? Well, first of all, Karim and Eric, do you want to add something?
I can introduce myself. Hi guys. Yeah, it is a little weird speaking into the void, but I trust that there's at least someone there. My name is Karima. I'm a second year MID student, and I studied architecture in undergrad in New Mexico. My main area of interest is data physicalization. Um, and yeah, I would love to connect with any of you guys via quick Zooms or emails. Maybe we can give my email at the end, or I can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, and I'm Eric. I'm also in the second year program. Background was in mechanical engineering. I think Paolo did a great job at touching upon what the program is about. So I don't really have much to add there. But if you have any questions about generally, maybe like the more nitty-gritty class experiences, things like that, Kareem and I are both happy to answer that. And yeah, I guess to show more breadth, my thesis interest is how can people enjoy trash? I guess that's the one-liner. So just to give some perspective of what this school is about. But yeah, happy to answer any questions from anyone.
Could you talk a little bit about how your program deals with critique in your department specifically?
Yeah, I think that depends on the different studios. Let's say that can vary a little bit. So the critique that is happening in Grad Studio One that is more experimental is a critique that is closer to fine art, let's say. So there are usually not slide presentations. We are analyzing a piece that is created after a conceptual progression. So in that case, the critique is extremely important. But in the Grad Studio 2 is a different kind of critique. Maybe you are more into explaining your process. You are explaining your design decisions and choices and everything. In general, let's say the critique is a fundamental aspect of RISD's education. People will question a lot what you're doing here all the time. And that's the value of it. So we can go through a harsh critique within the a safe environment of academia, and you will learn how to use the critique, and you will learn how to appreciate people's feedbacks that sometimes are very difficult to get once you're out there. So that's in general, and the critique is happening. There is your project in the middle of the room or on a screen, and everyone will say something about it. And that will definitely be the opportunity to collect a lot of opinions about what you're doing and having people highlighting what is not working in what you're presenting. And that has an extreme value. So you are prototyping your ideas in front of an audience that care and can give you advice.
Okay, we're starting to get some questions. Someone's asking about data physicalization. Could you please say more? Very interested in this new phrase.
Yeah, of course. When you're like in your project, you think that everyone just understands it based on your silly buzzwords. So, data physicalization is essentially the way I'm approaching it. Is that there's so much big data right now, and how do we help people make sense of it and ideally initiate some sort of change? And for me, that means like data visualization is essentially like showing data, like think of charts, bar graphs, etc. Now there's a lot of artistic ways to engage with that. And specifically for me, since I'm in industrial design, turning it into like tactile materials and experiences and involving a lot of senses. I don't know if that answers your question.
Eric, we are just because we are on the thesis side, and then I may answer some questions that are on the line here. What is involved in the thesis? Writing and or product design plus execution? How much writing generally?
Yeah, I can quickly answer that question just for that. Right. writing's a big chunk of how you develop your ideas for the thesis. So in terms of like how much writing, like we have certain guidelines about, like word deliverables, but I think the main thing I think people have touched on upon is that you have to be able to defend your work, defend what you're investigating, defend what you're researching. And then one of the main ways to do that, besides like the things you create, is obviously through the writing and showing the research that you've done. And also like using the writing as a space to reflect on the tests you do, the people like research or like things you create. So RISD they kind of look at it as a way of both thinking, reflecting. So it's a pretty big part of the thesis. I think there was a second part of the question. Was it about making, if I remember correctly, or like product
Yeah.
deliverables?
What? No, what is it?
What's involved in the thesis, writing or product design plus execution? How much writing in general?
Yeah. I think it's like in terms of like the execution side of things, it very much this is a bit of a cop-out answer, but it very much depends on the thesis. So whatever is the best way of making that thesis tangible and not just in your head and writing, like you create to answer all of those questions. So bit of a cop-out answer, but like depends on the format that makes sense to communicate your thesis.
If I could just
sorry, go on, Karima, go.
If I could rapid fire answer Clara's question about how many hours a week would studio classes be, electives. Essentially think of it as everything is in 5-hour blocks. The way our times work is either 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Studio takes up 2 of those blocks. It's usually like Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So 10 hours total. And then electives, from Paolo's slide, each elective you can think of it as a 5-hour block as well. So you're maybe having 25 hours of in-class time, if my math is.
Yeah, there may be seminars that are 3 hours, but in general, that's a good description.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think, again, because we are in that time of the year and you may be interested, I will respond to, could you be able to share about what you look for in applicants' portfolios? So this is an important question, I guess, for every one of you. We want people to demonstrate that they are good thinkers and they can critically reflect on what is around them. This is even more important than the skills you are bringing on the table. So even if obviously having a portfolio that is strong from a skill perspective, and that means for us, showing things that you have made in real life. If your portfolio is fully digital, that has no grasp with the reality, it has a little bit less value to us. So in a sense, and that doesn't mean that if you develop an app and if you want to describe an app, show me that you have talked to people, real people about that. That is not all happening in between you and your computer screen. So it's the reason why only a digital render about a 3D model that is not including any prototyping or tangible artifacts that is in some way helping you understanding the thing, that has not a great value to us. So we highly give priority to projects or experiences that happen and involve you in real life or in first-hand experience, let's say. That's a great opportunity. It's a great element for us. That means that maybe some of your projects are not fully refined. Maybe they are rough. They are in a prototyping phase. They are low res. That's okay, as long as we can see that that is your way to operate and the way you used to understand things around you. So that for us is extremely important. Even more right now, it's so easy to put together in few hours a fully AI-driven portfolio. Remember that the value of digital images dropped tremendously in the last couple of years, so no one will trust you if you're not able to support with other things. But even back then, for us, wasn't important having a stunning render if the idea wasn't presented in a totally in an additional different way. That is, okay, show me that you built something with your hand to try to create a proof of concept for that thing that then you have a polished image online. So that's extremely important. Add many experiences. I think the more we are able to understand who you are, the better it is. We are working on creating a cohort that is able to contribute to each other. So it's extremely important that we understand exactly what you are bringing on the table. So try to make it evident. For people without traditional industrial design background or product design background, don't try to be product designers if you're not. Bring on the table what you have and what you're strong at and where your strengths are. Let's say you have a background in graphic design. Show me that you are an excellent graphic designer. Don't worry, we can understand that anyway. Don't try to create quick product design projects to convince us that you are a product designer, and you will end up being a bad product designer instead of a strong graphic designer. So try to play within your strength and not trying to give us what you think we want, because what we want is really what you have to give. And so try to valorize that.
Another rapid fire one I'll take from G. Do students admitted to the 2.5 year course take the exact same classes with students for 2 years after? Basically, the way it works is 2.5 come in for winter and spring. Maybe Eric can speak to that because he was 2.5. And then starting in the fall, when us 2 years come in, we take studio together. That first semester, we take grad shop alone because they've already taken that in the previous spring. But everything else we do together. Electives, you take them in other departments within ID. Those classes are it's a big mix.
Yeah, and I can quickly touch upon the 2.5. So yeah, like Karima mentioned, we do a couple classes earlier. We also, I guess importantly, you're part of like the senior studio of the undergrad seniors in IT. So you join them for their advanced studio. And I think someone asked like the differences between the 2 and the 2.5. I think for me, it was a good way for me to get acclimatized to the way RISD thinks. Just because the school I went to like operated in a totally different way. So if you're able to swing it, I would always recommend just having more time in this school, which is always good to have. But I think it's all very personal. So feel free to reach out if you have more like specific, I guess, questions to help make that decision.
What kind of hands-on technical skill learning opportunities are available? Workshop, tools? You want to answer, Eric or Karima?
Yeah. We have pretty much available in some place at RISD any sort of fabrication tool you can imagine. Sometimes the barrier to entry of those tools varies. Usually, I mean, they just want to see that you're competent in the tool before they let you use it. So a lot of times that means taking a class, like if there's something specific you want to use in ceramics or sculpture, you have to take some sort of class with them, then you have access. Same thing in ID, basically after you take grad shop orientation, you're ready to use anything we have. And we have an extensive metalworking shop, woodworking, e-lab. Yeah.
Okay, so how does this new era of industrial design intersect with this program? Wow, this is an epistemological question. It's interestingly enough, we are very interested in discover this ourselves, in a sense that I agree that industrial design is at the turning point. So we start questioning what product deserves a body, or what is really needed, and what's the role of the designer in the next future, also in relation to AI and many other technologies that are popping up. So let's say it's a constant conversation. What I can say is that we are constantly having those conversations. And I think it's very difficult to predict what the discipline will be. But that's also the interesting and exciting component of it. So I think industrial design or product design has never been so open-ended as it is in this era specifically. And through our pedagogical model, we are trying to prepare students to navigate that uncertainty. And that's extremely important. So right now, the industrial design field is so broad that includes so many things that you need to be able to grab what you need when you need and being able to learn things very quickly to adapt yourself in different circumstances. So we are not a traditional industrial design program for that specific reason. So we don't believe that will be a tradition anymore. So things will be very different and are in constant change. So we hope that our students, when they get out of the program, are great thinkers and critical observers, in a sense that they can really adapt and reflect on what is passing in front of their eyes and grab opportunities or adapt themselves to anything that is convenient or aligned to their perspective and the market requirements. One thing that I see often is that maybe some of our students are getting a job as soon as they graduate in a big tech to pay back their debt, to make sure to get back on track. And after a few years, they drop and they go back doing what they have learned here and they have learned to love. So that's extremely important. So I think for that part we are very good at. So forcing people to really understand what they like to do, and maybe they are not able to do it and achieve it immediately during their first job or their first few years after graduation. But I think the passion that they discover throughout the program is so strong that that passion remains, and as soon as they can, they go back to that. How does multidisciplinary collaboration happen in the program? Well, I mean, that's a tricky question in a sense that, let's say, there is a cross-pollination that is happening very frequently, simply because the people in the studio are so different. And so they are even sharing thoughts or sharing a critique space with people that they have different backgrounds and they're bringing different things on the table can really enrich your perspective. Collaborations, they can happen. We never, so that's my personal observation. We are not usually forcing teamworks. And I realize that most of the time our students want to work by themselves. But I have seen students' projects happening, and that depends on the classes. So there is a class on biomaterials right now that is fully teamwork. So there are classes that is a sort of requirement. In general, though, we, especially in studio classes, we want to work on your own personal voice and your own way to see the world. And that usually happens throughout a studio practice that is an individual journey. If the teamwork is important, is part of the job, obviously, and you will grow that capacity, but it's also important that you are not milding down your opinions or getting down to many compromises when you are dealing with building your creative voice. So that's a good balance that we try to manage always. If there is no opportunity that is close to you, in a sense that also with other programs and grad students. Eric, can you tell, for instance, your collaboration with the other student for a project from another department?
Yeah, that was because of RISD, like you get to choose electives in all kinds of departments. So this was a class I took in interior architecture. And so for my project, I was collaborating with someone who was in the interior architecture department. And through there, I think through the electives especially, you get to meet people from all over the school. And there's also events at RISD where like people go up to talk about what they're working on. And I think the reason why, like, some people might be just working on individual stuff, it's because everyone's kind of following their own interest. And it's sometimes hard just to find people to mesh with that. But as designers, I think your work only gets stronger once you involve more and more people in some way or another. So for me, it was like good just to get that experience, and it's like it's not like it's discouraged here by any means. It's definitely part of the culture.
And also, if I could add, like, the multidisciplinarity is also just being around your fellow classmates, because we're all coming from such different backgrounds: engineering, architecture, fine arts. And within MID, because your electives, you're really gearing them towards something specific. And I would recommend like having electives that build on each other and really like specialize you in something you're interested in. So our projects are never really comparable to each other. We're all delivering very different things. And that's just like an inspiring environment.
Is the outcome of the projects only physical, or could it be a system or service? Yes, of course. When I'm referring to tangible, I'm not necessarily referring to physical. So tangible for me means an experience that you acquire through first-hand exposure to that project. So a system can be tangible if you are able to really dissect what the system means, and if you can demonstrate that you have tested and you have understood correctly the system at a deeper level. In that case, the outcome obviously is the system, but the tangibility of the project is what we are looking at. So the physical component is part of RISD. The creating physical outcome is sometimes part of our own pedagogical process. I'm always very upset about UX UI projects that are just presenting mobile phone screenshots. Don't do that. Don't add that to your portfolio. UX is not a screenshot. UX is user experience. So you can show that you are a good user experience designers showing me a project about a chair that you built. I don't need a digital outcome to understand that you are a good user experience designer. So I think it's interesting also that relation between the digital and the physical, and how you can use the physical to learn about the digital and vice versa. How do MIT students interface with industry leaders in the world outside the school? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we have RISD Careers, that obviously is a door towards the internships opportunities and so far so on. I think at the grad level, because your interest will become so specific, you will be also in charge of finding opportunities. That finding is not a lone journey. You will talk with professors that will suggest you who are the voices in that field that you're interested in, who are the experts, who you may want to be in contact with. So you will be guided in understanding where to look for those opportunities. You will definitely be the one sending out emails and try to create contacts. I mean, sometimes you may be introduced by a faculty if they have a direct connection with someone. But again, this is your responsibility as graduate students. This is, for instance, the case for the thesis advisors. One of the thesis advisors is an external advisor, so must be found outside RISD. And in that case, you will talk with your professors and people, try to understand who's the ideal person to bring in your thesis process. And in that case, that person is a strategic figure for you to open some doors into the field. So most of the time, external advisors are very interested in having a sneak peek on what RISD students are working on. So being an external advisor for a thesis project is not very demanding. You are meeting a couple of times. So everyone is interested. So I've seen students being very successful in inviting very big names in being their external advisors. So it's an opportunity that you can use the excuse about your thesis and a work that eventually is adjacent to that expert field, and invite them to your thesis and create a network and and in some way, maybe that person is the person you will reach out to for a job when the thesis is finished. So that's part of the strategic perspective that should happen in the second year of your program. I am a painter, and most of my work and painted flat canvases and a bit. Okay. A painter. We love painters. We have one painter right now in our cohort. I think the only advice that I'm saying that's make sure that you're ready to mix up your painting with some other things, in a sense that why you're selecting the industrial design program and not a painting program. So, but however, I think is the contamination of other disciplines has an extreme value. So you can use your painting experience and to bring that into your design outcomes and creating something that is unique, creating something that is very specific. So that's great. From a portfolio perspective, show us that you can deal with three-dimensionality as well, or change of scale. So don't give us only bidimensional paintings because it's not the main language that you are dealing with. So try to give us something that can suggest us that you can quickly catch up with other forms and means of productions. So that's the invitation that I have for you. Eric and Karima, answer a few, or I'm running out of breath.
Sure. I think we can. So there's a question about like dedicated studios and desks. In terms of, yeah, so like basically I'm at my desk right now. We have all our individual desks in the studio space. And then we also have our own little makerspace facilities attached to like our studio space. So the nice thing about the RISD grad program is that like you get like your own personal space that you can do whatever you want with it within reason, I guess. But you can use it to like supplement your research activities pretty well there.
Paolo, can you just address how the industrial design program is different from the MADE program?
Yeah, I've taught and I'm teaching something in the MADE program as well, while I'm the grad program director in the MID, RISD MID. Very different. The major difference is 1 year against 2 years, and yes, is also connected with 2 years of tuition versus 1 year of tuition. But what you get out of that is different. So 2 years is a journey that is more complex. I have seen people dramatically changing after 2 years of program, getting in with a specific idea in mind and being exposed to so many things and having the time to digest new informations that they discover different paths. MADE is more condensed. It's 1 year. Difficult to fully change your mindset in 1 year. However, it's a great opportunity for networking, for understanding other perspectives. Another difference is, as I said, our program is more a self-exploration. MADE program, they require collaborative projects. So all the program is based on collaboration. So you will always do teamwork projects. And that's, again, different little differences that are huge also, depending on what you want to get out of these things.
And if
yeah.
you'd like to know more, you can reach out to me because I was debating between MADE and MID up until the last moment. And you can pick my brain about how I made my decision.
Yeah, and Karima was selected for both programs. So I think there are overlappings in a sense that, let's say, whoever goes to MADE, I realize, is more technology driven in general. So that component is more present there. In MID, we have a way more variety of subjects. We are interested to get admit people that they have not design background at all, because we believe that that enriches our cohort. That eventually is happening a little bit less at MADE because they have not the time, the privilege of time that MID has to provide new foundations, let's say. So those are macro differences.
I think there's a question about how the first year, like theoretical / prototyping development balances. I think Rumi, I can answer that just really quickly. In terms of the theoretical, let's say the theoretical problem analysis forms the basis of all of your explorations. Like the first year is all about figuring out what to question, what to critique, and then having a justification of why you're creating what you're trying to create. I'm sure Paolo can probably speak to that better than I can, but
Perfect.
Whether the balance is between like how much theoretical exploration versus prototyping, it does go hand in hand, because in order to like figure out what I'm trying to make, what I want to question, what I want to explore, you need to make it, you need to like get it out into the real world and test things. And so like the first year is all about, you know, figuring out for yourself what that looks like, what your process of investigation and making looks like, in the hope that for your thesis year, it'll set you up in good stead to like do your big investigation.
Yeah, I mean, one big effort pedagogically that we are trying to achieve is teaching you how to jump quickly from the conceptual to the tangible, and in a back and forth progression. So they are not different phases, it's just one single phase. You're not accumulating all your conceptual thinking and then expressing them, but is a more back and forth between conceptual reflection and tangible experimentations, and then go back to the concept, and then go back to tangible experimentation. So that will allow you to not accumulate too much conceptual thinking or research that may freeze you and stopping you to try things out. So that's an interesting part, an important part for us that should be acquired as a knowledge after the 2 years. In the portfolio, we expected to emphasize our work process, or to provide a clear and structured presentation of our project. Both is everything. So one suggestion in this case is that do not present your portfolio in a redundant way. So we want to understand what you have to offer. We don't want you to present 5 projects and all the projects are repeating the same steps. Okay, for this project here, the idea creation, the research, the prototype, the user testing, and the final renders or whatever, that will make your project extremely boring, and it will give us the same information over and over again. So my recommendation is, there are no rules there, but I invite you to reflect about what is that component in each single project that make that project interesting and unique. In one project, for instance, the research part in that specific project could be unique and very important. Without that part, that project couldn't exist. In other projects, maybe the research is not so interesting, but there is that material selection or production process that made that project unique. So try to critique your own projects, analyze them, and try to see where do you want to put the focus on. That will create a more interesting portfolio first, and then will allow us to understand that you know what makes a project special. You know in which part of that project is the part that makes a difference. So try to think about that.
If I could add, a lot of advice that I got when I was applying to grad programs, whether RISD or others, is remember that the people reviewing your portfolio are doing this very quickly and at really high volume. And so your images and your spreads have to really speak for themselves visually and like really put visuals forward, not extensive text, because it's not going to get written. And even just as a user experience for yourself, think about clicking through your portfolio at a rapid pace and be like, what is going to grab my attention? What's interesting? How can I show my ideas as concisely as possible?
Yeah. Try to reach 10 projects in your portfolio, at least. I mean, please give us 10 projects. We don't need a lot. I mean, 10 projects, but again, 10 projects, those 10 projects maybe not exactly product design related. So a project is something that you developed in your life that can be of very different nature. So don't think, oh, well, I don't have 10 industrial product design looking project to show. That doesn't matter. So 10 things that we can use to assess who you are and what you're bringing on the table. So try to do that, and yeah, that will be important. For people with not design background, do they consider themselves as a job-ready designer after 2.5 years? Well, it will depend on individuals, but I'm kind of curious what kind of tracks do they take after graduation. A lot of interesting students that we had in the last, let's say, 5 years were 2.5ers. And I should say also some of the most successful ones. They are job-ready designers. I should say yes. They are ready for what they think their job should be. Are they collecting the same experience in industrial design specifically as one of our undergrads, spending 4 years in planing wood? Probably not. But that's in undergrad education. So don't expect also that the master program in industrial design at RISD is a sped up version of our undergrad. If you're interested in that basic foundation in design, enroll in an undergrad. And that's fine. If you want having a conversation that is a little bit more broad about design, that is not necessarily related to spending a lot of time on just the basics, then come to our program. And again, that's not detrimental to be ready for the market. It's just you will be ready for a different level in the market. Our students are jumping in leadership positions pretty quickly. On one side, because maybe they not enter in that job with the same skills that an undergrad has, in a sense that if you're looking for a job as a 3D modeler, okay, yeah, I don't think you may want that job anyway, but we're not preparing you for that. If you want to be a strategic thinker, if you want to look at things, if you want to be the one in the room that is saying something that is totally different from anyone else, and maybe steer the conversation from a creative perspective towards something that wasn't taught before, in that case, yes. Okay, so there is a time that you can build a solid foundation. You can still get into our program and spending all your electives in a specific design for manufacturing skills. You can still do it. Oh, finish.
Sorry to interrupt, Paolo. We have to just wrap it up. The next session's going to start. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you have more questions, please email us. We can get you in touch with Paolo or Karima or Eric. Yeah, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Great. Thank you very much. And reach out if in case you have additional questions. Ciao.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye. Bye.